No Mercy 2023. A good show. It was. We got good matches. For the most part, the stories were decently good. We got some closure of certain things, opening of new things, and questions. So I will tell you, if you watch this, you'll like it. I'm not going to say you're going to love it. I know not everyone likes Shawn Michaels' booking. I know. And understand, this was Shawn Michaels' mainly his booking. Of course, the end of the show, you know who booked it. That was Vince. Vince made that call, and Shawn had to work with it because of Becky Lynch. But in general, this was all Shawn Michaels' booking. I know how Shawn books generally, and this was his booking. These are all his people, and he made it about them. Now, before we even got the show started, they did a video package of an N64 No Mercy video game to make the story of the entire show. Literally, when you see I believe I got some shots of it. I've already shown them already. But they look like old N64 game graphics, which they were, I'm sure of it. They set that up so they can set up the show in advance. Now, I don't know about any of you, but many people love the old video games that came from the N64 era of gaming. So, for me personally, I do maybe once in a while retro gaming. It actually, I liked the nostalgia. It actually was something interesting. Let's be honest. Vince would have never done that. That was not a Vince McMahon idea. It was not. That was a Shawn Michaels idea. Whatever his crew came up with, that was their idea, which I agree with. That was a nice homage to what WWE used to be. An actual fun thing. Now, the first thing we got was Braun Breaker versus, surprisingly, a cheered Baron Corbin. Look, I'm not a big Baron Corbin fan. The Lone Wolf has been long gone. His rebuild has not been perfect. But I'm telling you right now, what we got here was actually quite good. One of the rare times you can see a Baron Corbin really be pushed in a way where people really liked him. It is rare to like Baron Corbin. He's always a prick. And not many people like him at all. But here, where he had to be so rough with Braun Breaker, and that match beforehand, I mean, the fight beforehand was very good. They get into the ring and they continue fighting, and the way that Baron Corbin acted was, come on, let's do this. He wasn't like a Shinsuke Nakamura, but he's going like, you think you're better than me? Come on. Constantly being beaten the crap out of by a Braun Breaker who did the Undertaker bit once he got slammed onto the announce table. He sits up and goes, ah! I'm going to tell you this. He is not the Undertaker. I wish he would not do that. And the homage to the Undertaker, and the very opening, along with that, because let's be honest, Baron Corbin, you see the shot of it. I know I got a shot of him on a bike with a mask on, with teeth, that the Grim Reaper look. That was a lot homage to the Undertaker. Let's be honest. The sitting up, the way Braun Breaker did was Taker. The bike was Taker. I don't know if he was involved in this. I do believe he might have been. So this was maybe a Taker-inspired type of feud, where they were just trying to rip each other apart. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Mr. Stone, near the end of the match, shows up. He jumps into Braun Breaker's arms, and he gets thrown over the rope onto security and annihilated. But Baron Corbin won, and people were fine with it. People were fine with it. I am telling you, people were fine with Baron Corbin winning over Braun Breaker. They were. 100% fine. I'm shocked it happened. But the question now is, what does that mean for Braun Breaker? Is he still going to have a feud with Baron Corbin? Or is it finally over? And he might be going to the main roster. Because we know soon more people are going to be released if they haven't already. Because I doubt they released enough people yet. But here, it's a question, what's going to happen with Braun Breaker? And more, will Mr. Stone work with Baron Corbin? Because we don't know if Von Wagner's been released or not. I don't know. I don't know if he's been released or he's being kept off TV because of the story for Braun Breaker. I don't know. I have no clue if Braun Breaker is still going to deal with Von Wagner when he comes back, or if Von Wagner legitimately is no longer with the company. I just don't know. I just know that it got a lot of questions. Next, we get the NXT North American Championship match. Dirty Dom, Dragon Lee as a ref, and Trick Williams whooped that Trick. What did I tell you? Guys, I told you Dom would not be holding that title for very long. I knew sooner or later Dom is going to drop that damn title. He is dropping it. It will happen. And it happened. Now, did we get a good match between Trick and Dom? No. I'm going to tell you right now, Trick is still green when it comes to wrestling compared to Dom. Dom is more polished due to the fact he's been on the main roster. Now, I'm not taking anything from Trick. He was just sloppy in certain ways, and Dom tried to compensate for that. And understand, I've never been against Dominic. I just wanted him on NXT where he would be able to develop himself separately from his father, or his father would be basically his manager for a while he developed himself. I did not agree with him going to the main roster, but here that he's working NXT, counting if this is it, if he's going to be back in the main roster again and not come back to NXT. He tried. And Trick, for his most part, really did do a decent match, but he was a bit more sloppy than Dom. Now, Dom kicked both refs. The Dragon Lee ref, which he was already having a problem with, and the second ref who came in after Dragon Lee got kicked out of his boots, out of the ring. But in the end, Dom lost. Everyone was cheering for Whoop That Trick. And now he is now the North American champion. So, it looks like Shawn Michaels believes that he's ready to hold a title and see if he can develop himself enough to have a more stronger character. I don't know if that's going to be permanent for about maybe 6 months, or is it going to be a transitional thing? He's about to get his ass whooped by somebody else, namely like Carmelo Hayes, which I'll get to in a little while. Don't know. It's just some questions, but it is good to see they are moving away from Dom, where I do still believe that Dom will eventually go after his father and try to get the U.S. title from him. I do not believe they're going to follow the draft, where he will stay on Raw and he won't bother his father. That's what I believe. Now, the Fatal 4-Way for the Tag Championships. The family, Dom, the Don, and the Underboss versus Out of the Mud, the Creeds, and Carrillo and Angel Garza. Was this a good match? Yes. We did see that Tony D'Angelo's knee was bothering him, and they took him to the back because of when he was working. So they were trying to set that story up. But for the rest of the match, you see the Underboss had to be the one to do all the work for his team, which was good. He did a good job. Admittedly, when you see Garza and Carrillo literally destroy Stacks, you go, damn, did he actually break his nose? Because they kicked him really hard in the face multiple times. So hopefully he didn't break his nose or anything, or any type of chin or anything. But the Don came back, and eventually, with the help of the Creeds to a certain extent, even though you can see that the Creeds, they did not want to help them, but they had to because they were outnumbered, the Don won, along with the Underboss, which I have no problem with. I'm glad to see them win. They deserved to win. They needed to win. It would be foolish if they dropped it so quickly to let's make it clear. The Creeds, I do not believe they should get a title shot now. When it comes to Garza, as well as Carrillo, I do believe they should get a title shot, but after they have more wins. They have not had any wins whatsoever, and they just got rebooted with their storyline and their character. Sorry for spitting. Let me make sure I got none there. But when it comes to Out of the Mud, when it comes to Priest, Price, Neiman, and Is he still going by the name Scripps? I think he is. I'm going to tell you this. This tag team, I'm not saying I'm not feeling it. I am. But to be put in that spot so quickly, I don't agree with. That just shows you how weak that the tag division is. Because they need to bring more people in. Yes, Briggs and Jensen are there. They got them. Tank and Hank are there. But honestly, seeing them there, that should have been Tank or Hank, or it should have been Briggs and Jensen. I'm being honest here. I'm not saying they need to win, but they shouldn't have been there. It's too soon. They should be trying to build up more wins and get more clout. Now, I have to say this because Dyad is not there. Schism is now no more. Joe Gacy, they showed a repeat of, they showed what happened that Tuesday. And Ava was trying to convince them it's not over with a tan line on her boobies. This is what happens when someone is trying to look sexy. Because someone had to tell them, honey, we need you to look a little more cute and sexy. Start wearing something that shows some titty. Which she did. But you can see the damn tan lines of how light-skinned she is and where she got her tan. But, not bashing her. I'm just saying that sometimes you should not always show so much. But she did, and Gacy told her, schism's over, diet is over, go away, and I cannot make it work anymore. So now we're going to see Ava reign on her own, and this is where things are going to become a question. I'm telling you right now, I'm hoping Ava works on her ring work, because I'm telling you again, no matter how much you guys don't want to hear it, Ava Rain's skill set is similar to Nia Jax's skill set. The only thing we haven't seen her hurt anybody. She's not that great in the ring yet. I am hoping beyond hope that she gets more heavily trained. That's what I'm hoping for. That they train her some more in the ring, because she did not have very good ring work. When I saw her against Ivy Nile, she just doesn't. She looks a lot like Nia Jax, and that's not good. Now, moving on. The Heritage Cup match, which I believe was the third best match of the night for me personally. I'm making it clear. I could easily say that Corbin and Braun Breaker was the third best match. But I believe the Heritage Cup was the best match, the third best match. The only problem was what's next. Now, in the first round of the Heritage Cup, when we got Butch versus Nolan Dar, the first match is a tie. The second match, and this is, well, maybe I should crank back a little bit, because when the first match was over, Nolan Dar gave him the Judas effect, because that's the best way to say it, instead of just a back elbow. And pretty much Butch was stunned and lost the second one. Third one, Butch managed to get back. And then from 4 and 5, pretty much, we didn't get anything. They were tied. And then we got Gallus coming out. And that's counting on Mesa, along with the rest of Metaphor, messing with not only Tyler Bates, but also messing and nailing Masa. Basically nailing a Butch at least twice. And that was before Gallus came out, attacked Tyler, and then Butch tried to save him, which he did. But then Joe Coffey got in there and nailed him in the face, and now Nolan Dar managed to retain the Heritage Cup. Here's the thing for me. What now? What now with him? If he does Superstar his show, it sucks. I'm telling you, he does not have the charisma to make it work. It's not because of his accent. It's just he's not that charismatic when it comes to something like that. The things he was doing when they were doing the tournament was a bit entertaining, when he was acting like he was on Safari, when he was doing Ocean 11 kind of thing, and doing the Matrix. Those were different. That was interesting. But when you see him do like the Superstar, whatever store, I can't remember the name of his show, it sucks. He just is not that good. He isn't. So I'm hoping they will not go to that. because they won't have the next person for him to deal with. I'm just saying. Now, the best match of the night with a very good story. Very good story. That would be the NXT World Championship. It's true. Questioning what's going to happen with Melo versus Dragunov. It was the best match of the night for me personally. I loved the match. Seeing how rough and tough and hard it was going. Seeing that Vic and Booker T were doing everything they can to sell. Is Melo in the right mindset to go up against Dragunov? Can he actually think he can beat Dragunov because of what happened back at back during the last match they had? And it's a big question. Could he actually beat Dragunov? Because he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure if he could do it. And when they did the talk on Tuesday, when the contract signing, you just don't know if he really believes himself. The match was excellent. In the end, I was not surprised because I felt that it's going to be one of two things. They're either going to bury Dragunov and then rebuild him again, or they're really going to finally decide to pull the trigger on him and let him have the damn title and then do something with Carmelo Hayes. Either they're going to send him to the main roster, or they're going to have him deal with someone, namely Trick Williams, because I just don't think Trick and him will not go up against one another eventually. It's coming. I truly believe that Trick now is North American champion, maybe having his next challenger in a Carmelo Hayes. Now, match was over. You see, maybe I have a shot of them hugging one another because Elio gave him a hug, saying, "Come on, you did great. You're damn good." He showed him respect and hugged him. And when it was all over at the end of the show, when the Extreme Rules match was over, you see him going over to Trick, and he apologized for losing, and Trick hugged him. With his championship on his shoulder, he hugged him and said, "Don't worry, you're still the best. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You are the best. You got nothing to be ashamed of," which he doesn't. He could still do a rematch clause. But the question is, are they going to do that? Are they going to have him go up against Ilio again? I didn't say that earlier, but that's what could happen. One, he could do a rematch with Ilio to try and get it back and then lose. And then he may start going on the road of going downhill and going up against Trick. Two, they may not do a rematch, which I don't think they wouldn't. I think they will have to do a rematch if his contract does talk for it. And then after he loses again to Ilya, that might be his done, and he will go to the main roster after that. It could be one of those. I just don't know. You guys tell me below. Last match. Extreme Rules match versus Tiffany and Becky. Now, I want to make this clear. This was booked with only one understanding in mind. For Vince, he wanted Becky to retain that title. She's on NXT and on Raw. They want her to go back and forth with the title to give it interest from both shows. That is why they're doing it. Because of how bad the ratings have been with NXT. And they made it very clear. This is what is going to be done. Vince told them, give Becky that damn title, make it work for both NXT and Raw. And when it comes to Shawn and Triple H, they got to do it. It doesn't make a difference if they both don't want her to be a champion from NXT and go back and forth. They have to make it work. So, she has this match against Tiffany Stratton, who at that point was bleeding from her head just like Dragunov was bleeding. Going amongst, at one point, when they decided to go up into the rafters with the fans, and who said it, Vic? I think he said that one of the people who gave her a gold chain might have been one of the people who does her hair. Is a guy, a black guy. Gave it to her and whacked her in the face. I don't know if I got that shot. I'll put it in my face if I do. But I'm telling you right now, what this comes down to, guys, is that this was a good match for a Tiffany Stratton. That's what this is all about. Other than Becky, we got a chance to see how tough Tiffany is. She went up into the fans. She took a lot of hits. She got busted open. She kept going. At one point, which was the trope they used, and that was Becky going under the ring, getting the fire extinguisher. They always have to use that stupid trope. I never like it. I wish they never do that anymore. But Becky used the fire extinguisher. And then once it came that Tiffany, who's a pretty freaking strong woman, she had a nice ass. I mean, let's make this clear. She's a gorgeous looking woman. Her ring attire shows a lot of her butt and her buttocks. But that woman is freaking strong to be able to lift up those steps. Now, mind you, they're aluminum steps. They're not super heavy. But you rarely see women lift them up. That is not a Nia Jax or Rhea Ripley. It shows that she's actually very strong. And then she decided to actually take a fall onto a table. Now, I think I got the shot. She overshot the table and she shattered it where her back and her butt is. That's the reason why I have to mention it. Because if you see the shot, if I got it. If I don't, I have to find somewhere I can't get the shot. I should have it. She literally took that hit. It broke where her back or her butt is. And then she landed flat on the ground after she got on the top turn rope and did that swanton onto her. And she did more than one swanton. She even did a forward flipping back elbow into one of the guardrails like they always do. That trope is always there. And she looked really good. I want to say this about Tiffany as a gymnast. She's damn good as a gymnast. Unlike, I don't want to be bashing Charlotte like crazy. I'm not a fan of Charlotte, but she can wrestle. But she can never get anyone over other than herself. This is what everyone else doesn't want to admit. Because when it comes to Charlotte wrestling with a Becky, a Bayley, a Sasha, a Asuka, she can deal with them. A Bianca Belair. She can always deal with those women because they're all very great wrestlers. And they don't need her to get them over. The only thing they need is to actually be allowed to win and show what they can do. But when it comes to somebody that is not like them, she can't get them over. And I'm not saying she's a bad wrestler either. She's a good wrestler enough that she can get herself over and do the work in the ring. But she's just not her father. She just isn't. But when you see Tiffany Stratton, she's a better gymnast than her. She can do a better backflip than her. She makes it look effortless. She makes it look extravagant when she goes back and does her backflip. Unlike Charlotte, who just looks like a stiff pro wrestler, she looks like someone who was trained as a gymnast and uses that skill when she backflips. She makes it look really good. She just does. So, in the end, she did lose, of course. She wasn't meant to win. She got her back laid out onto a whole bunch of tables. And, I'm not forgetting about the Barbie toy. That was stupid. I'm sorry. When Vic said, they just want, the reason all that Barbie stuff is there because of Tiffany saying that she's a modern day Super Barbie. That was stupid. I just didn't think that was necessary. If it had been Lego, yeah. I don't expect them to do thumbtacks. But it had been Lego, I would have been cool with. But Barbie toys, and then you see Becky trying to slam her on it like it would hurt? Seriously? And then Becky just started throwing it at her when she's holding and I believe I got a shot of it, and she's holding the garbage can to protect herself as Becky's throwing it at her. That was stupid. It didn't really look right. It actually, everyone's enthusiasm that was here went down heavily when they started throwing when she started throwing the Barbie. When they started asking for the tables is when the enthusiasm went back up. But I will tell you, it was a good match. Overall, this was a good show. It was good wrestling, and to a certain extent, good story. Not saying it was great story, it was good for both. And you should be fine with it. Question is, where are they going to go now? Are they going to do anything with Braun Breaker? What are they going to do with Ava Raine? Now what happens with Tiffany? She's been beaten. Will she try again to go after Becky? Who is Becky's next opponent other than Tegan Nox for Raw? Because she's got to have someone for NXT next. Who is next? Is it Roxanne Perez? I don't know if it's Jade Cargill because I don't think she's going to be ready yet. They're going to have her train and get used to the style that WWE has, not AEW. Remember, they're going to do WWE style. She's going to spend the next couple of months knowing how they do their stuff compared to AEW stuff, even though most of the people who work in AEW used to work in WWE or WCW or Impact Wrestling or New Japan Pro Wrestling or even MLW for that matter. They're the same people, but Vince is going to make her know that style. And then they'll show her up, either hopefully in NXT and not on the main roster. But it's just me. Peace.